in terms of building your team, clearly you run one of the three major
Hmm.
departments in the company, and it's growing. And as you said, you're going to potentially need to, think of new ways of structuring your team. Do you do kind of long-term planning of that, like what 12-month, 18-month sort of resource workforce planning, or do you just take each quarter as it comes?
So we mapped out at the start of the year, we mapped out the 12 months. But it is very hard, especially given current market conditions.
Mm,
Liz Truss had a budget in November last year that's
mm,
just put the entire economy into turmoil, and had a profound impact on the housing market. And even for lettings, we're seeing severe ramifications for that to this day. Landlords exiting the market at a fast rate. Um, so it's really hard to map out too far ahead
mm,
with fast changing market conditions. There's also this thing called the Renters Reform Bill that's going to be coming into
mm.
effect in 2024. May get delayed, we'll see. But that will fundamentally change everything. It would be the biggest legislative change to the housing market since 1988. It's going to be huge, absolutely dramatic. So 12 months is what we looked at first. And then obviously we review it quarterly and monthly and plan based on targets that are being hit, amount of landlords that are being onboarded, retention rates for management. Um, but yeah, it's hard to forecast too much beyond like obviously what we want to aspire to. Like we've got numbers that we want to hit over the next 12, 24, 36 months. Um, but they're sort of like aspirational targets that
And have you
we're.
have you, have you got a possible blueprint? So if you know what if everything paid off and went your way,
Mhm.
and over the next 24, 36 months, and do you then overlay that with a blueprint of the size of team or type of teams you could need if everything went well, and then you just track to that and see if it paying off?
Absolutely. So we've tried to maths it out logically
Mm,
based on if we're onboarding 200 landlords a month and we win, 90% of those deals. We've then got 180 landlords that we're moving properties in on. If
mm,
we convert, say, 70% of that to management, you've then got X amount of managed properties as well. Well, if a property manager can handle five new properties a week, because onboarding is a huge amount of work and you've got your existing portfolio to deal with as well, you can then just maths out how many property managers you need to deal with those 200 landlords that you've onboarded.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you went that direction, and I was giving you like a thumbs up to keep going because we have a leading people module that we talk about on the course, which is using some ratios or customer to staff ratios, which is what you talked about there, landlord. So you've got some ratios, how much a person can hold in terms of workload, and then you just sort of, I guess, extrapolate from there, and
Yeah,
then you see at what point, I guess, does it become just crazy because you can't keep adding more and more people. At what point did you need to take a holistic review? And then you did touch upon other things that you need to take into account, which is external environment. So if there are pressures coming down the track where you talk about renters reform bill, which is going to radically change the industry, if that's gonna you're gonna scenario plan, right? Is that gonna have a major knock-on impact on our business? Is it gonna dampen the growth line that we're expecting? In which case, your resource plans that you're building for a much higher growth rate is going to be a bit lower. So but you said there's never a fixed answer, right? You've got to do enough planning so that you're not walking in blind, but you've got to be
100%.
ready to adapt, I guess.
And these numbers that come from these models that we've created, they're never 100%,
Yeah.
obviously. Like things can change. You can win more deals one month, you can lose more the next. Like things happen, but they give you a trend, and those trends are very useful, and that's what you can base your decisions off.